Vandami Bante, and good evening, everyone. Good morning for everyone in the Western Hemisphere. Welcome to the lesson on the 7 stages of purification, part 10, discerning mentality. I am Brother Layu Chung. I'm the meeting co-host who will be helping Bante and everyone in today's session. May we invite Bante to start the teaching, please. Sādhu.
Now we will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Last week we have already talked about discerning materialities, but now today I have to explain the mentalities. So mentality is also the foundations of Vipassana. Now here we also have discerning mentalities. As we have already explained before, in every Nama, they will arise as a group. So when we talk about grouping, now we must also know the associated mental factors. We also have to know the mental process. Since I have said this is also the basics of discerning, practicing Vipassana, I also have to introduce 2 types of vehicle. I think everybody has to know these 2 types of vehicle. The first one, the samatha vehicle, the samatha practitioners. Now we also have some practices. We also have practiced samatha, but we don't attain jhana. Although we practice samatha as a foundations, if we're going to attain jhana, it will be different. It will be similar to pure vipassana vehicle. Then, what will be the difference between samatha vehicle and vipassana vehicle? So now, mentalities. This is also the foundations of vipassana. The materialities, what we have explained last week, is also the basics of vipassana, the foundations of vipassana. If we practice samatha and attain jhana, then we can start with discerning materialities. As we have explained last week, discern 4 elements, discern rupa kalapas systematically, step by steps. Then we can also start with discerning mentalities. So we have 2 options as samatha vehicle. We can start with either mentalities or materialities. This is the basics, the foundations of vipassana. Then for about vipassana vehicle, pure vipassana vehicle. If we say the pure vipassana vehicle, they will attain only asset concentration, no jhana attainment. Then they will be able to practice vipassana, starting with only 4 elements meditation, discerning mentalities. Whether it's samatha vehicle or vipassana vehicle, when we are going to practice or when we are going to discern materialities, we must start with 4 elements. In brief or in detail. As we have known samatha vehicle and vipassana vehicle. Then we also have to know how is the difference between these two in the very beginning. This is just introductions for meditators as foundation. Then now we will start the beginning of discernment, discerning mentalities. As we all have known, the beginning of materiality is 4 elements. Now, how is the beginning of discerning mentalities? We can start with feeling. In the mind moments, in the mental process. Another one is contact, phassa in Pali. So from contact, we can discern, starting with contact, we can discern all other mentalities in the mind moments, in the mental process. Then from consciousness, or the mind, as we understand mostly. So in the very beginning of discerning mentalities, we have only 3 entries. We can also say 3 entrances to discerning mentalities. We can enter into this discernment with these 3 beginning. So we can enter from feeling, we can enter from contact, we can enter from consciousness. These 3 are very beginning of discerning nama, mentalities. We can choose any of them, one of them. If the feeling is very, very obvious for our practice, we can start with the feeling. We can discern all other mentalities. If the contact is very obvious for the meditators, sure, they can also practice from the contact. If the consciousness is very obvious for the meditators, they can also start with consciousness. It burns on the obvious mentalities, obvious mental patterns. We can choose one of the 3 as basis. Now we have to proceed discerning other mentalities. The mental process. Actually, we have already explained the mental process, I think 2 or 3 months ago. No, not 3 or 4 months ago, maybe many months ago. So as we explain the mental process, actually at the time also I used the slideshow. Then we have jhana mental process. When we can attain jhana, when we have attained jhana, we can discern jhana mental process. That means we can discern mentalities in the mind moment, in every mind moment in jhana mental process. Now we also have mindful mental process. So we may have many different objects that appear in our mind. They have many different thought process. Then we can also discern all these mental process, also in the mind moment and mental process. Then phyto mental process. Here phyto means eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. When seeing, when hearing, when smelling, or when tasting, when touching. There will be different types of mental process. It depends on the object. So we can discern all these types of mental process, also mentalities in every mind moment in the mental process. Then for your revision, I should introduce briefly. This is jhana mental process. As I have explained in the mental process a few months ago. So now, with me, Banga Jalana, trampoline, Dami Bongo Pacheda, resting, the Mami, Mnara Vajana, sorry. The Mami, Mnara Vajana, Mino Vatin consciousness, Mami Parikama, preparation, Upachara, accepts, Numi, Nuloma, conformity, Komi, Kodurabu, change all lineage after the jhana. When we are entering into jhana, there will be many jhana mind moments. If we enter 1 hour, then it will be jhana important consciousness in 1 hour. Entire process of entering. After that, bhavanga, life continue. This is jhana mental process. Just introduction. Later, I have to use this mental process for sample of discernment. What is mind mental process? Manora Vachana, Mami Manora Vachana, mind Arvatin, after that 7 javanas. Impulsions, mind moments. After that, Pavanga. So it can be many different types of mental process. You can review. Now finally, we have Phyto mental process. It's too long. Tita Pavanga, this is past Pavanga, Pavanga Chalana, this is a trampoline Pavanga, Bongo Pacheda, there is a rest Pavanga, after that Panjara Vachana, Phyto Arvatin, then Chami Chakuvinyana, Ain consciousness, Samrichana, receiving consciousness, Sandirana, investigating consciousness, Utapana, determining consciousness. After that, we have 7 javanas, impulsions, mind moments. After that, Tadaramana, registering minds, 2 registering mind moments. When we are seeing, this mental process will arise. When we are hearing, there will be only 1 replacement. Chaku Vinyana must be Soda Vinyana, ear consciousness. Okay, the main thing is we must know the mental process. Then there are many questions from many meditators. Why do we have to know all types of mental process? Why do we have to know all the mind moments? Why do we have to know mental factors in every single mind moment? So we have to know the components. When we can know the components, the perceptions of impermanence, suffering, non-self will become very obvious. We can know it clearly. That is why we have to know the components. So what are the components? Actually, I have explained before. Just revising, reviewing. Sanity kana, kunyati components. Then samuha kana, synthesis components. Then kicha kana, function components. Then finally, aramana kana, object components. These are 4 components for mentalities. But when we are going to discern materialities, no more aramana kana, no object components. The rupa, the materialities, cannot take anything as object. Only mentality can take objects. So we may have 4 components for discerning mentalities, 3 components for discerning materialities. Then I have to introduce how are they. Sanity kana, cognitive components. You may see this picture. What are they? It's not very obvious, right? Not very clear. It's more branches, a crack, right? Or something not very clear because very far. The vision is not very clear. We can see as a line or a thread or a branch or something. So that means it's like a discerning mental process. When we discern mental process, we can see like a thread as a process. But when we can see the mental process clearly and closely, we can know all these are ants. So that means Sandhi Gana, cognitive components. All the namas are arising and appearing repeatedly, one after another. Now we can know every single mind moment. That is called Sandhi Gana, cognitive components. We can break down the cognitive components. Then again, we have the next one. Samuhagana, synthesis components. How can we know it? In every single mind moment, there are many different mental patterns that arise and perish together, taking the same object. So similarly, in every single ant, in the example, we can know where's the head, where's the legs, where's the body. We can know everything in detail. That is called Samuhagana, synthesis components. So that means when we can discern all the associated mental factors in every single mind moment, we can break down their components. Then the next one, Krichakana, function components. So it also similar to previous one, but different. Every single ant, we can also know which ones are functioning what. For example, the legs will function to move. The head will function to find, to smell something. The body will move slowly, right? So that means we can know the functions of every single body part, every single organs, every single part of the ant. So here in the discernment, in every single mental factors, there is the characteristics of mentalities, the functions of mentality, the manifestations of mentality, and the proximate cause of mentality. We have to discern in detail to be able to break down the Krichakana, the function components. Unfortunately, I didn't explain, and I'm not gonna offset it, right? Because now in this part, we just take very simple objects. That's why Armanakana is not that easy to explain now. But later in the Vipassana, when we can discern Anubhava Vipassana, discerning preceding mind moments with succeeding mind moments, and we can break down Aramanakana, the object components. So these are the introductions to components, introduction to mentalities. Actually, I have explained all these things before. Now, how to discern it? Another Vachana. After that, we have Parikama, preparation, Upachara, accepts, Anuloma, conformity, Godaravu, change holinate. After that, Jhana. Jhana may arise many times, as long as we determine. If we can meditate, if we can enter 1 hour, then there will be Jhana moments for 1 hour. If we meditate for 2 hours, there will be jhana mind moments for 2 hours. At the end, there will be bhavanga, life continuum. This is jhana mental process for samatha vehicle practitioners. So when we are going to discern mentalities, so we are going to break down the components. This is like a city, like mental process, sandatikana, kunanyati components. If we can know every single mind moment, we can know, we can break down the kunanyati components. So to break down the synthesis components, we must discern the next steps. That is discerning mentalities in every single mind moment. So today I have to introduce one by one. Mami, mind-to elevating consciousness. Together with this mind-to elevating consciousness, okay, as we have known that this is a consciousness. Consciousness will know the object. The object means here when we are going to enter into the first jhana, then it will take the Patibhaga Nimitta, the counterpart sign, as the object. So the mind will know the object. It's just knowing. It cannot analyze very much in detail. Then again, we have contact. The contact, they have different functions. Then it will contact the object, the between mind and object. So there is the base. There is the object. There is the consciousness. Then contact will, if there's all these things, the contact will arise. Because the object will impinge on the door, then the mind will know the contact arises. At the same time, this is a mind contact, not eye contact, not ear contact. Then again, feeling. In the case of the first jhana, for example, the feeling will be happiness, happy feeling. So when seeing Patibhaga Nimitta, with the mind, there's mind contact, there's also feeling happiness on it. Then again, perception. This is a marking, or this is the Patibhaga Nimitta. That kind of perception. This will come from breathing, the perception. We will perceive the object. It's just perception. Perception can mark. It cannot know very much in detail. In Pali, we call it sanya. Then again, volition. Volition is actually a kind of force, reinforcement. It will force all associated mental factors to work properly. It can support all other mental factors and mentalities to know the object, to keep know the object. Then one-pointedness, knowing only one object. So keep knowing only the nimitta, Patibhaga Nimitta. Attention, pay attention to the object. So, okay, here one more thing I'm missing. This one's like a life faculties. Okay, I missed one minute factor here. Okay, this one is it. Life faculties. This is also a kind of vital force. So life faculty is also the maintaining, sustaining lifespan of mentalities. Altogether, 8. Okay, this is the first part. Then after that, we also have another group, application. Application means directing the mind to know the object. Application will direct the mind to the object. Then sustainment. Sustainment will maintain the mind to keep knowing the object. That means as application, apply or direct. And decision. So decision is, we call in Pali Ajimaka. This is a kind of freedom of mind. The mind is free to know the object. Especially here, in this mental process, knowing the Pratibhaga Nimitta. Then energy. We call in Pali Viriya. So, here if we say Viriya, this is mental energy, mental effort. So these mental factors will arise together with Manodara Vajana, the mind will arrive in consciousness. This is a small nama grooves in this mental process. But in other mental process, it will be smaller than that. Some of mental process my moment are smaller than that group. This is the grouping. So when we can see the process, this is breaking down the continuity components. If we can discern all these mental factors in one mind moment, they arise together, perish together, taking the same object. This is breaking down the synthesis components, samuhakana. Then if we can, okay, now this is, I have to explain the next mind moment. Parikama, preparation. So all previous mental factors will be the same as Manodara Vajana, but there are many other additionals. Even in previous mind moment, I missed one mind moment, one mental factors, right? Life faculties. Okay, now here we have to talk about additional mental factors. There will be rapture. We also translate as joy. In the first jhana, we have joy, but not very gross. It's subtle, very fine, infects all over the body. It's a very pleasant feeling. This is called rapture. Now we have desire. When we have supreme desire, sure, we can attain jhana. This is also very powerful. Then we have many other mental factors. For example, faith. We also translate as a confidence. At the time of preparation, the faith or the confidence, in Pali we call Sādhu, will arise together with preparation, sati, mindfulness. So keep knowing, mindfulness on the objects. Now we have moral shame, moral fear, moral dread. So these two will arise in that very mind moment. After that, we also have non-greed. Although we are focusing on the very pleasant objects, if we have greed, we cannot enter into jhana. If we have non-greed, we can enter into jhana. That's why at the moment of jhana, non-greed will arise. Then after that, non-hatred. Of course, if we have very strong anger or hatred, our mind cannot be stabilized. We cannot enter into jhana. So when we can enter into jhana, non-hatred will arise. The ever evenness. We call in Bali Tattramachatata. That's also called balancing all the factors. If some of the mental factors become very excessive, the mind becomes unstable. If some of them become very weak also, mind cannot be stable. Ever awareness will make everything balanced. None of them will be excessive. Then we can keep entering into jhana. So after that we have groove. Okay, here tranquility. There are two types of tranquility. The two mental factors of tranquility. Here I just summarize. The first one is tranquility of mental body and tranquility of consciousness. Two types of tranquility. In Bali, Kaya Passaddhi and Chitta Passaddhi. So when we are entering into jhana, there will be tranquility. What is really very calm, very peaceful. Next one, lightness. But here also we have two types of lightness. The lightness of mental body and the lightness of consciousness. In Pali, Kaya Lahuta and Chitta Lahuta. So at that time, our body will be very light. Then also our mind also very light, very active. Then again, we have flexibility. This is Kaya Mudita, the flexibility of mental body, and Chitta Mudita, the flexibility of consciousness. Then again, we have wideness. It also called Kaya Kamanyata and Chitta Kamanyata. Kaya Kamanyata means the wideness of mental body, and Chitta Kamanyata means the wideness of consciousness. And here, proficiency. In Pali, we call Kaya Pagunyata and Chitta Pagunyata. The proficiency of mental body and proficiency of consciousness. Then the last among the group is rectitudes. We call Kayuchukata and Chiduchukata, the rectitude of mental body and the rectitude of consciousness. So these 6 factors divide into 2, altogether 12. Then there are some Dhammataka or some other meditators. They also say, sometimes it's not for wisdom, it's just for concentration. There's no wisdom, just concentration. But here we have the last mental factors. That was wisdom. Without wisdom, we cannot attain jhana. So these are the mental factors that arise together with parikama, the preparation, mind moments, also upachara, the accepts, anuloma, the mean conformity, godarabu, change or lineage, and jhana, all the jhana mind moments, including bhavanga. So from Manoravajana to jhanas, they will take parikama nimitta as an object, patibhaga nimitta as an object. All these things have the same base, the same object. They arise together, they perish together. Then when we can discern all these types of mentalities in every single mind moment, we can break down the synthetic components. Unfortunately, here I cannot explain all the Lakkhana Sapajipatthana Padatthana here, right? So actually, we have the next steps to discern all these things. Lakkhana means the characteristics, Rasa means the function. Then we also have manifestation, Pachupatthana, with a Patatthana, the prosemic cause. So we can discern all these four in every single mental fetters. Now we can also break down the components of functions. Okay, this is just introduction for the meditators, but here I cannot explain everything in detail. But anyway, if you can understand all these things, later it will be easier for you to meditate or to practice. Then again, jhanas. As we know discernment in the jhana mental process, we also have to know how many types of jhanas. In reality, I have explained all the jhana practice in samatha practice, in samatha, especially here, Citta Visuddhi, the purifications of the mind. So, how many types of jhana? Among the practice, very popular one is breathing meditation. In the breathing meditation, if we can practice very well, we can attain up to the fourth jhana. So that means we can discern jhana mental process, and then associated mental fetters in every single mind moment, in the first jhana, in the second jhana, in the third jhana, and the fourth jhana. We have another one, 10 casinos. So they are also the same, that we can practice up to 4 jhanas. The first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana, the fourth jhana. Moreover, if we can practice based on 8 kasinas or 9 kasinas, we can also enter into 4 immaterial jhanas. So 4 immaterial jhana also have the same mental process as I have explained before, but the associated mental fetters will be less than the slide I have already explained. So the 4 immaterial jhanas must be based on 8 or 9 kasinas. Mostly the light kasina is very similar to white kasina, that's why we can say sometimes 8. If we separately discern practice light kasina, sure, it will be 9 kasinas. The speed kasina cannot be the foundations for immaterial jhana, because we cannot discern space in the space kasina. That's why we cannot do it. Then the 4 sublime abidance. As we all have known that metta, loving kindness, is very popular practice, but we can enter into 3 jhanas up to that jhana, the first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana. When we are entering, or when we are going to discern all that mental process and mentalities in every single mind moment, then you can be in the first jhana, the second jhana, and the third jhana. Among the 4 sublime abidance, the second one is karuna, compassion. This is also another different mental fetters. That is why when we can enter into karuna jhana, there will be additional mental fetters. As I have explained in the previous slides, there will be one more additional fetters, that's karuna, compassion. In the first jhana, it will be more than, second jhana, third jhana, but no more fourth jhana. Then, okay, for about mudita, it will be the same. Additional 1, there will be additional Upakha can only enter into fourth jhana. That's why not much different. That means Upakha jhana is not different from other four jhana. But here we have another one, another group, the 10 asubhas. So we also have explained 10 different types of death body, the corpse. But now here, if we can practice the asubhas, one of the 10 asubhas, we can attain only the first jhana. So mental process will be the same as the slide I have explained. The mental factors in the mind moments will be the same as before. No, not much different. Then we have 32 body parts. Actually, 32 body part is one of the 10 anusati. We call in Pali Kaya Kata Sati. By practicing 32 body parts, we can attain the first jhana. In every single body part, if we can practice very well, we can attain the first jhana. Now we also have like a skeleton meditation. In a skeleton meditation, if we can know only one single bone, or if we can focus on one single bone, and we can also attain the first jhana. Then we have the next group in our daily life. So if we can practice jhana until we can attain jhana, so we have to discern all the jhana mental process. So we can also make that as foundations, we can also discern. Because we can also enter into the jhana as foundations. We can also discern mentalities and materialities in the jhana mind moments. We can also continue vipassana. That's for jhana practitioners. If we cannot attain jhana, in our daily life, we have many different types of mind moments, many different types of mentalities. For example, we have recollections of Buddha. When we are going to recollect the quality of the Buddha, it is not the jhana. We cannot attain jhana also. It's a wholesome mental process. Only mindful advertence, consciousness, 7 jhavanas, and 2 dharmas. We must be able to discern all the mental factors in every single mind moment in the mental process. Then similarly, the 3 abstinence. The 3 abstinences means when we are going to take precepts, when we really abstain from killing, stealing, such misconduct, as abstaining from bodily wrong actions, as we all have understood as Samagamanta. The problem of Samavacha, abstaining from telling a lie, abstaining from slandering or backbiting, abstaining from harsh speech or abusive speech, abstaining from useless talk. This is called abstinence. Samajiva, right livelihoods, such as abstaining from weapon trade, poison trade, and also flesh trade or meat trade, animal trade, human trafficking, liquor trade. If we are right livelihoods, this is also abstinence. This is also from our daily life. Sometimes, although we have opportunity to break the precepts, but we try to train ourselves. At the time, there will be one of the 3 abstinences. For example, if we have already trained ourselves not to kill any living beings, although we have opportunity to kill, it will be samakamanta. If we can recollect the samakamanta, there will be the mental process. So maybe it can be taken living being as object. The living being we didn't kill as object, concept. Then the mental process will be mind order consciousness, then 7 jhanas, 7 emotions, mind moment. Then taking the concept as objects, no registering mind there. We have to discern the mental factors in every single mind moment. This is also from our daily life. So the 3 abstinence is also one of the mental factors. That's why the number of mentalities in the emotions will be more than the list I mentioned in the jhana mind moment. Additional ones, like if we abstain from killing, it will be samakamanta. This additional mental factors. If we abstain from telling a lie, then it will be sama water, right speech, one of the mental factors. If we abstain from wrong livelihoods, it can be right livelihoods, sama ajiva. This will be additional factors in the emotional mind moment. Then we have taken concept as object. In our daily life, we have many different concepts. For example, like we may have house, we may have monasteries, as bhikkhu we have kuti, our residence, we may have clothes, medicine, water, also clothes. We also have like the food. We also have many other properties like books, and table, chair, lamps, telephone, laptop. Everything can be considered as a concept. So taking concept as objects, we may have different types of mental process. If we have wise intention, there will be wholesome mental process. If we have unwise intention, it will be unwholesome mental process. So we may have different types of objects, different types of intentions, different types of mental process. Then again, taking ultimate reality as an object. Sometimes our mind can take ultimate reality as object. For example, like a color, the smell, the taste, the touch. Sometimes we also think about feeling, perceptions, think about our mind, hatred, anger, recalling many different things in our mind, taking as objects. There can be different types of mental process. If we have a wise intention, wholesome. Unwise intention, unwholesome. If we have greed, sure, it will be greed-rooted consciousness. If we have hatred, hatred-rooted consciousness. Delusion, delusion-rooted consciousness. So this is called taking ultimate reality as objects. Similarly, taking translucency as objects when we are discerning materialities, as we have explained in our previous Dhamma talk. For example, like eye translucency as objects, ear translucency as objects, nose translucency, tongue translucency, body translucency, sex materialities, heart materialities, nutrition essence, life faculties, every single ultimate reality can be the object of our minds. So sometimes, although we take ultimate reality as objects, we may have unwise intention. Then it will be a wholesome mental process. Sometimes we have wise intention, it will be wholesome mental process. Then we have understanding as impermanence, suffering, non-self, and repulsiveness. So sometimes we understand our body as impermanent, suffering, non-self. But in reality, there's only concept, right? We just take concept as object, impermanent, suffering, non-self, repulsiveness. This is also wise intention. Then sometimes we may take ultimate reality when we are practicing vipassana. For example, like inconsistency as impermanence, in Pali, anicca, suffering, dukkha, non-self, anatta, repulsiveness, asubha. It will be wholesome in the process. Taking ultimate reality as object, taking intransigency as object. And there will be difference in the process. Then again, understanding as permanent, happiness, self or soul, desirable, or we can also say beautiful. So taking the same things, we have different perceptions, different intentions, different understanding. For example, understanding intransigency as permanent. In Pali, anicca. Happiness, sukha. Self or soul, atta. Desirable, subha. We can also say like beautiful, subha. It can be unwholesome in the process. So in our daily life, we can also have all these types of objects. Then there will be many other types here in brief. The first one, discerning the mentality in the jhana mental process for jhana practitioners. The discerning the mentality in the mindful, wholesome mental process. Sometimes our mind will take, right, desirable things or undesirable things, but we have wise intention, there will be wholesome mental process. Then another one, discerning the mentalities in the phyto-wholesome mental process. When seeing, when hearing, smelling, tasting, or touching, when we have a wise attention, it will be wholesome mental process. Now we can discern all types of mentalities in the mental process in different mind moments. Then discerning the mentality and the mindful unwholesome mental process. Then discerning the mentalities and the phyto-wholesome mental process. Briefly, in our daily life, we have wholesome and unwholesome. We have 6 doors. So many objects will come and impinge in the 6 doors. Then we come to know. It depends on our perceptions, how we accept it, how we reject it. So if we accept it with our wise intention, unwholesome in the process. If we accept all the objects with wise intention, it will be wholesome in the process. Then these are the briefly explaining. In our daily life, we have to discern all these things. At least we must know wholesome and unwholesome. Then we have this, the last part, Nama-rupa discernment. So we have to discern all types of mentalities in every single mind moment, in every single mental process. Here I have already explained Rupa as the first topic. Now here, Nama is the second topic. Now we can combine these 2 practices together. In the very beginning, we have to do separately. So first discern materialities. After stimulation, concentration, discerning four elements, and also other rupas, discern 6 doors, 42 body parts. All these are called discerning materialities. Then discerning mentalities, as I have explained today. After that, we have to discern mentalities and materialities together. So for example, here today in the slideshow, I have explained the mentalities in the jhana mental process. So I will explain now jhana as an example here. Entering into the first jhana, we discern jhana mentalities. After that, we have to discern materialities, such as heart materialities in the heart base. Also, we have to discern all other rupas in the heart base. Then we have to discern all other rupas all over the body. This is called discerning mentalities first, after that go to materialities. After we go to materiality and mentality, alternatively. If we can discern alternatively one after another, finally we can discern both together, nama rupa together. They are arising and appearing very rapidly. It's very difficult to catch. But anyway, if we become skillful, we can know rising apparitions of mentalities, materialities very rapidly. Then again, discerning mentality internally. That means from our body. Then again here, we have discerning mentalities and materiality externally. Here, one more thing I have to remind you. Although we say discerning mentality externally, it doesn't mean the meditator can reach other people's minds. They can just know general mentalities of other living beings, not in detail. So that means we ourselves discern mentality in ourselves, and discern mentality of other, for example, like wholesome jhana mental process in ourselves, after that jhana mental process in other living beings. Only general discernment. Like a Buddha, it will be different from the Buddha. The Buddha can know the nama rupas of every living beings externally, all external living beings. So his inside knowledge will be different. Then here we have many other things like 100,000 universe, right? 100,000 universe, living beings in 100,000 universe. Then Buddha also can know the mentalities of living beings in 100,000 universe. Is it too much? It's his insight power. So like Venerable Sādhu cannot know that much. He can know only Majjhima middle lands, like in India, right? Middle lands. When he discerns also, he cannot know individual namarupas. He just knows general namarupas of other living beings. Although he could discern very much in detail, it will be different. So here, briefly, we have to explain mentality of other living beings means we cannot, it doesn't mean we can reach other people's living beings. We just discern other people's living beings, mentalities of other living beings generally. Okay, this is the end of the practice for today. Okay, now here one more thing. Today we have explained discerning namarupas together. This is called Ditthi Visuddhi, the purifications of view. Especially here, if we can practice Nama Rupas very much in detail, our mind can be free from identity view, which means we will not think that materiality as self or soul, this identity, everlasting entity. We may not think the feeling, the perceptions, or consciousness as everlasting entity, because we know they are rising in perishing very rapidly. Now we cannot know them as self or soul or everlasting entity because they are rising as a groove, perishing as a groove. Then the perceptions of anatta, non-selves will become very obvious if we can know rising and perishing as a groove. They are also out of our control. They will rise and perish naturally and normally. So these are the part of, very beginning part of Vipassana, the purifications of view. So in every single steps, we must be able to overcome some things. So now here in these steps, after discerning Nama Rupas, our mind must be free from wrong view, especially here identity view. Our must be free from everlasting entity. We may not have that kind of perception anymore. So that is called the purifications of wrong view. So may you all be able to practice the Buddha teaching, the 3 trainings, and as a result of it, may you all be able to achieve the final cessations, the realizations of Nibbana. Sādhu, Sādhu, Sādhu.
Thank you, Bante. Sādhu, Sādhu, Sādhu.
Yes, Yado. My name is Yado. There are a series of questions regarding Sankhara. So I'll just read it quickly. Actually, it's all related to the definition of Sankhara. For example, Sappe Sankhara. This Sankhara, what are the content of Sankhara? Does it include the 5 Khanda? And also Avijja Paccaya Sankhara. And this Sankhara, does it mean all the Javana, Kusala, Akusala, Javana? And another thing is about Sankhara. Is Sankhara a concept because it is a type of synthesis, or because Sankhara is a type of Samuha? No, sorry. Because Panyati is a type of Samuha, is the effect of Samuha synthesis. So does that mean Sankhara also related to Panyati? Next page, please. Next page, please.
Slideshow.
Slideshow, next page, please. Okay, I'll proceed. So also Sankhara and Cedana. What are the difference? For example, if someone's a mosquito bit him and then he feel unhappy, or he start to beat the mosquito, which part of actions related to Sankhara and which is related to Cedana? And Sankhara Khanda and Sankhara, what are the difference?
Many, eh?
So all 5 questions is related to the definition of Sankhara in different situations.
Okay. So Sabya Sankhara, Anicca, or Sabya Sankhara, Dukkha, all these things, right? It can be all the conditional things. That's what I call Sankhara. So in this case, Sankhara means all the conditional form, all the conditional things, Sankhara, right? For about Sankhara Khandas, this one's very, very, very clear because in the Abhidhamma, we have already talked about feeling as a feeling aggregate, perception as a perception aggregate, then consciousness is a consciousness aggregate. All other mental factors are called Sankhara Khanda. The ones are very, very clear. What about Sankhara Paccaya Vijnana? avijja paccaya sankhara. In this case, okay, now as we also say in one thing, right? For example, like a killing mosquito is sankhara or is jirana or what? How can we differentiate? Right? It's very, very complicated issue. So I have to introduce two different Pali words, sankhara and kama bhava. Because I say sankhara and bhava, two different things. So in sankhara, that means in the actual time of performance, that means in the actual time of actions, this is called sankhara. It can be in the past, right? In the past, we have accumulated many good or bad things. For example, as you say, mosquito bite, we just kill mosquito, or we don't kill mosquito. It can be in the past. This is called sankhara. But when it appears as a karma, it can be in the present. So that means, what also say like a Chirnaham Bhikkhave Kama Varami. Chirnas, the volitions is called Kama. If volitions become very powerful, very strong, it becomes strong Kama. If volition become very weak, it becomes weak Kama. It depends. So briefly, whenever we talk about sankhara, it covers ultimate reality. But you also say one thing about samuha, right? Samuha gana. Okay, in the sense of ultimate reality, we don't use samuha gana. Sorry, samuha panyati. We just use samuha gana. Synthesis components. So samuha panyati means, for example, here we have body, we call human being. So heads, we also have arms, body, legs. If we combine all the things together, we call human being. This is called samuha panyati. Combining everything is called, we just name it, is a human being. If we analyze again in the head, there are many other organs, for example, head hair, body hair, eye, foreheads, eyebrow, eyelash, eyes, many parts. Combining everything together, we call head again. Okay, again, in the head hair, there will be many other particles, many other dust, right? In the head hair. Also, some are combinations of many materials. Then, if we analyze very much in detail, in the sense of concept, it will disappear. That means name will change all the time. The more we analyze, the more it's changing. In the sense of sankhara, here we should talk about ultimate reality. Don't talk about concepts, right? Okay, then any other question?
There's a second question.
Let me see, second question regarding Nama Rupa, they are Paramata Dhamma. Then if you say Rupa Kaya and Nama Kaya, is this a type of Panyati? This is the first part of the question. Second part is if a meditator, he managed to see his past few life and find that the lifespans of his past few life are very short. Is it because of Panadibada karma, means the karma of killing? And after being reborn in the hell, when the karma in the hell have finished, there are still other leftover karma that will cause him to have more sickness and short life. And how to change this karma of short life?
Okay, so here, the first question, right? The first question is, sorry.
Rupa Kaya and Nama Kaya, is it Panyati?
Okay, so that means, if we talk about Rupa Kaya and Nama Kaya, right? This actually...
sorry, Sādhu. Rupa Kalapa and Nama Kalapa.
Oh, I see. Okay. So if we say only rupa kalapas also can be concepts because there's only particles, right? If we can see the materialities in the kalapas, this is called ultimate reality. What about nama kalapas? We cannot see it. There's no form, no shape. It's purely ultimate reality. So to make it short, in the sense of rupa kalapas, the particles itself is a concept, but materialities in this particle is the ultimate reality. In the sense of nama kalapas, we don't have any shape or any particles. That's why there's no concept. Okay, this is just ultimate reality. Okay. Next one is okay. Second one is
short life and how to
overcome it. So that means if somebody was born in the hell, then he or she may be reborn as a human being. Her lifespan can be shorter than other living beings because they have past karma. Because power of their karma is not very strong, right? Then another thing is we have all the past karmas are waiting for present karma. I have explained previously. This is called Payoga Sampati. In this very life, we have our own actions, you know. That means the Payoga Sampati make our karma changeable. Okay, for example, so we are very pure, okay, we are earning very well, okay, we have pure livelihood, for example, now in this very life, but we are poor, right? As long as we are pure, then at least our minds can be pure. We cannot be rich like other people. They may have some illegal earning, then their mind is not very secure because of illegal earning or improper earning. Because of this is called Payoga Sampati and Payoga Vipati. So because according to our past karma, there are some people, although they are very pure in this very life, they are poor because of their past karma. But they're trying very hard because of their present efforts, they can become rich because of present karma. Okay? So for present karma, we have to understand three things. The first one is effort. If you have right efforts, you can change your lifespans, your past karma. Another thing is your knowledge or your wisdom. If you have enough wisdom, you can change your karma. The most important thing is your actions. That means your effort, right? So that means all the past karmas are waiting for present actions. If our present actions are good, we can change our past karma. For example, now you may offer like a blood donation. You have blood donations, or you may have many other. You may save many animals, right? If they are in the trap, you may save many other animals. Then in this way, you can change your lifespans. So that means if we have good actions, good efforts in this very life, we can change the past. Okay, this is shortly we can understand like that. Okay, then next one.
Dear Sādhu, as we understand mind arise and perish away very quickly, how do meditators actually choose a set of mental process and practically discern the mentality? Do they stop the mental processes like the way we pause the video and discern their details? Where are these mental processes recorded?
Okay.
Sādhu.
So here, actually, previously I already give an example in the mental process. We had to review that one. When we are going to discern the mental process, we cannot pause. Okay, I have given one example. There's a bird trying to catch the fishes in the small stream. Many fishes are swimming upstream, downstreams. Then the birds will catch one of the fish and eat. When it was eaten, it is eaten, or many other fishes are passing by. After eating one, he will catch another one, eat. So similarly, in the very beginning, the many process will arise very many. There are many mind moments rising in vibration repeatedly. We can catch only some of them. Catch one moment, for example, like a consciousness in one mind moment, and many other similar mind moments will arise. Then try to discern consciousness and contact two together in another mind moment. Then consciousness, contact, and also feeling three together in another mind moment. We have to catch in the different mind moments. Finally, we can catch all the mental factors in one moment. After that, we can start discerning many mind moments in the process. Finally, we can know all the mind moments in the process. So it depends on the way we train ourselves. It will take time, but finally we can know it. Okay?
Dear Sādhu, when meditators practice metta jhana systematically, they will need to send metta to 12 types of beings. With the help of their concentration, meditators are able to see many types of beings.
Okay.
In different realms. Sādhu, Sādhu, Sādhu.
So this is a question on the statement.
I think it's a question on whether the meditators can communicate with the beings. Yes.
Actually, it doesn't mean communication, but for about seeing, it will be possible. It depends on the light of wisdom. There are some meditators, they may have very bright lights. Then their light of wisdom become very bright, and when they expand the light, they can see living beings under the light. It's possible. But for those who has very weak the light of wisdom, that means not very bright lights, they cannot see clearly, it can be blurred, but anyway, it's possible to keep radiating matter towards all living beings. It doesn't mean communication. Okay?
Yeah, Nami Sādhu, regarding the discernment of nama, Sādhu says that if someone can have yoniso manasikara, then the javana will be kusala javana. So in the case of pancha dwara viti, for example, our Chakku Vijnana will take color as object. And then after that, will follow by Sambadhichana, Sandhirana, and Vattabhana. So in this Vattabhana, he only know color as object only. How can he arise? How can Yoniso Manasika and Yoniso Manasika arise?
Okay. So that means okay, there are, it depends on our past habit also. Habit, right? Past habit. Actually, what about Yoniso Manasikara? There are many other things. Even, I think when we talk about very beginning of Chitta, consciousness, actually we have already talked about all the Yoniso Manasikara. The reasons of rising of wholesome or Yoniso Manasikara. For example, like Sadhama Savana, right? That means listening to the noble Dhamma or truth Dhamma. Sabri Subhanisaya, associated with like good people, many other reasons, many other bases. Right? So it depends on our past habits. That we may have different acceptance, that's why. Then there will be the power of mind. They can say this is the good, this is the bad. Whatever I can make, this is called Javana Pariparaka Manasikara, right? So anyway, Panchara Vajana is also Aramana Pariparaka. So Mrana Vajana is Aramana Pariparaka. Panchara Vajana is Aramana Pariparaka. So anyway, the main thing is, it depends on many other reasons. Then we can say this is the Yonisomanasicara, this is the Ayonisomanasicara. Right? It depends on parts of it, not because of Utapana or anything.
Yeah, this is a question in the chat room. I think it has been asked before regarding avijja paccaya sankhara. So he want to confirm this sankhara, does it mean the kusala javana and the akusala javana?
Sure. It's okay.
And Sādhu, regarding the 4 types of paramattha dhamma, citta, cetasika, nama, and nibbana. These are paramattha. How about 5 khanda? 5 khanda paramattha dhamma also?
Actually, if we talk about nama rupa, it's also 5 khanda. Okay, so that means nama rupa can categorize into many different things. For example, like 5 aggregates. Nama rupa can divide into 5. Rupa is 1 aggregate, nama is 4 aggregates. It becomes 5 aggregates. Similarly, ayatana. We have 10 rupas aggregates. Then 1 nama aggregates. One of them is nama rupa together. Mixture of nama rupa is one another ayatana. So altogether 12 ayatana. Similarly, we may have like 18 elements. If we talk about 18 elements, it will be the same. There will be 10 rupas, elements. Then we have the 7 nama elements. Then finally, nama rupa together, one more other element. Altogether, 18 elements. All are also called nama rupas. So different classifications or different analyzings, different approach. It depends on the meditators. That's why Buddha gives different instruction to different meditators, right? According to their temperament, tendency, and also their situations. Okay.
Wandami Bante, there are 2 parts to the question. Number 1, how to discern the jhana, mentality, compactness, and synthesis, etc. when we enter the jhana or upon emerging from jhana. Number 2, how about in daily life, how you discern and break down the associated mental factors? Sādhu, Sādhu, Sādhu.
Okay, so for about jhana, actually, after entering, emerge, discern my moments, after the end, re-enter, emerge, discern like that. So we have to re-enter many times. That means if we are skillful, we can do it, right? So in the very beginning, enter, after the emerge, discern my moments, discern mental factors, then if fade away, then re-enter, emerge of it, discern, like this, right? We can do like this. So that means we know preceding mental process as succeeding mental process. The 2 mind moments cannot arise at the same time. So for about daily life, it will be not much different from jhanas, right? For example, like mostly in our daily life, we have a lot of listening. We hear more. That's why if you just close eyes, listen, then when we hear something, just listen, hear mental process as being naturally. Similar when we smell something, the sense smell mental process, the nostril mental process. Then if you just meditating normally, just close eye, meditate, or it can be like a Puranosati or any other subjects, give me the objects, then just try to discern the mental process and mentalities. Okay, that means in our daily life, it must be natural. When we are going, so it depends on what about them we see, we hear, we smell, we taste, we touch, we think. What about them we focus? Then there will be different types of mental process. We have to discern everything naturally and normally. Don't create anything. If we create, it's not very natural, very tired. If it becomes natural, it will be more comfortable. Okay.
If someone discern nama and rupa, but still not free from wrong views, should he continue discerning nama and rupa or continue with other meditation like dependent origination?
Actually, that means If he cannot overcome wrong view like this, this is not really true practice. So that means if he can really, he or she could really discern Nama-rupas clearly, that he must definitely free from identity view. If he cannot, sure, we start from the very beginning, from zero, cannot do other things, right? So start from the concentrations or Rupa meditation, Nama meditation, trying to see it clearly. If we can know all the Nama-rupas clearly, then we may have purifications of the view, normally. Okay?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Bhante, thank you very much for your teaching today. And also thank you to our interpreter Bhante for the translation. May Bhante lead us in making aspiration and sharing of merits, please.
Etawata amehi sambadam punya sambadam sabbe deva numodandu sabbe buddha numodandu sabbe sada numodandu sabba sambati siriya idam me nyatinam hodu sukhita hondu nyatayo idam me nyatinam hodu Sukhita hondu nyatayo idam me nyatinam hodu Sukhita hondu nyatayo idam me punyam asawakaya waham hodu idam me punyam nibbanasa pacayo hodu mama punya bhagam sabba sadanam bhajemi te sabbe me samam punya bhagam labantu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante, and everyone for your time and participation. Till we meet on next Saturday, may all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.